Today we're going to take a deep dive into the highly requested topic on musicians and mental health. By the end of this video, you're going to have an expanded awareness of lots of different kinds of resources that are at your disposal, and you're going to have some strategies for you to implement yourself in your own life on how to bolster that sense of self-love and well-being mentally. Before we dive in, like always, I want to invite you to join this community of creative entrepreneurs and musicians and performers from all over the world. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and let's dive into today's video. If you've ever struggled with depression or anxiety as a professional musician, or you've discovered that there's room for you to grow in your relationship with self-love, then today you're going to get two pieces. One is resources outside of yourself, and the other is tools for you to implement in your own life that will both complement each other in bolstering your mental wellness. Let's first take a look at what kinds of resources are available to you right now. The first and probably most well-known resource we're going to look at are psychotherapy and psychiatry. So if you don't know the difference, psychotherapy is essentially talk therapy, where you explore your feelings and thoughts in front of a licensed medical professional, and it is their professional opinion that you do not need any medicine to support you in your mental health. And of course, psychiatry would be an additional resource on top of psychotherapy, where hopefully you are having talk therapy with your psychiatrist, but also they have decided that it would very much benefit you to be supported by medicine on a daily basis. Therapy is a massively supportive tool for mental health across the board. And many of my clients actually have both therapy and life coaching because they complement each other. I love to distinguish with my clients really what the difference is, and it may be helpful for you to know as well. In my perspective, there are two very distinct differences between therapy and coaching. Therapy is essentially a relationship that exists between a doctor, a medical professional, and a patient. And with coaching, it is not that sort of relationship. It is not a hierarchical doctor-patient relationship. It is actually a total equal partnership. So I hold you to be the expert of your life, and I'm like the shiny reflective surface to see what you can't see is right here, holding you back from where you want to go in life. So two different perspectives. Therapy often comes up in coaching because in order to move forward, sometimes it's necessary to heal what is holding us back. Therapy tends to be mostly past-based in terms of looking at what from the past is still existing in the present, and maybe if there's some sort of disordered thinking going, there may be a diagnosis involved. It's many people's experience who go to therapy that it's simply an outlet to express what's on their mind, what they're feeling, and the therapist will have a role in pointing out what sort of old stories are still playing out in your life right now. And then the coach is actually a complement to that work in terms of looking at what is holding you back and looking at the stories that are still existing in your present, and what's the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. So in that sense, therapy is very past focused in terms of healing what came before, and coaching is very future focused in terms of where do you want your life to go. So I often encourage clients who have old stuff that comes up through our coaching to take that to a therapist and have that conversation, because it's often the complement of the two that creates magnificent breakthroughs in their lives. And if you need a partner in deciding what's best for you, absolutely know that you have a resource here to help. And while we're on the topic of resources, I don't want to skip over what other kinds of resources are really, really magnificent for mental health and well-being. Some very common forms of therapy that exist outside of the standard psychotherapy realm include EMDR, which stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Processing. In addition, there's also things like NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming therapy, as well as craniosacral therapy, massage therapy, yoga therapy, nutritional therapy, and there's support groups for almost anything that you can imagine. If you're not sure what some of those are, I'll link a couple of resources in the description box for you to check out and explore for yourself. This last set of resources isn't for everybody, but I wanted to put it in the video just so that you were aware of it. There are many, many spiritual coaches, Reiki leaders, energy healers, acupuncturists, priests, shaman, and so many more. So Spiritual work is obviously an incredibly personal endeavor that is probably a separate topic from this video, but a lot of spiritual work focuses on the idea that you are unconditionally and inherently loved and that you are loved. So if that resonates with you, if there's something in your soul that says that you may need to work on the spiritual relationship in addition to your relationship with yourself, then consider that spiritual work might complement your psychotherapy or your other more traditional Western practices. So before we leave the resources section of this video, I'd love to hear from you and what you've experienced with these different kinds of therapies, whether it's psychotherapy and psychiatry, whether it's life coaching, or something involving movement of the body with craniosacral therapy or Reiki or yoga therapy or massage therapy, or if you've done some spiritual work. I'd love to know what your experience is and share resources together below. Now, although life coaching essentially works from the premise that you believe that you are whole, complete, and perfect as you are in this moment, and there are gaps between where you are and where you want to go, I do often work on clients in having breakthroughs in their sense of well-being and mental health. I will put in the disclaimer that I am not a mental health professional, I am not a therapist, I am a trained life coach, and this is simply the work that I do on a very individualized basis with each of my clients. So I've noticed generally there exists some themes that I thought I might offer for you to look in your life at where you can bolster up the foundation for your mental health and well-being for yourself. The first place I'd have you look is at your physical well-being. There are studies upon studies about the connection between the mind and gut, the mind and body, the physiological connection between our whole body and what's going on in our mind. So whatever that means to you, because it means something different for everybody. Some people suffer from incredible physical tension that massage therapy or chiropractic care or Reiki or different things that access the physical needs that that person has, getting that treatment regularly is massively supportive to their mental health. Another place to look might be your exercise and movement. Do you have a relationship with moving your body on a regular basis every single day? And when I say move your body, I really would look at what is your relationship with self-love and moving your body in a physically exerting way. That could be a hike, that could be going for a swim, that could be taking your dog for an hour walk, or that could be doing workouts at the gym or at home with your home workouts, or even just doing stretches. Really, the spectrum is very, very wide in terms of this physical well-being piece, but I do assert that there is a complement of both, where you might pair some sort of release in your life, like yoga or stretches or chiropractic, along with the kind of heavier exertion. Because obviously I'm not the expert in this, but I know that endorphins and moving your body really contribute to your mental clarity and your experience in your body, as well as your confidence. So pairing the two may bring about a very strong shift in your mental health. The second place I'd have you look is at stress management. Now, this is particularly important for musicians and performers who have a career or a hobby in performing arts. Oftentimes there's an intersection of emotional and mental well-being as well as the stresses of the career that can sometimes come to a head. If you're one of those people that kind of goes and goes and goes and goes and goes until you eventually crash and burn, whether that means getting sick or having some sort of dramatic meltdown or breakdown, trust me, we have all been there. Or even if we look at the bigger scope, years and years of the stress of this career becoming the source of disillusionment or becoming jaded about the career itself. Either way, whether it's a long-term perspective or short-term perspective, stress management is massively important for you if you have a commitment to performing arts. Again, like most things in this channel, it will involve some of the mental stuff and some of the physical stuff. So stress management to me, in my personal experience, has a lot to do with expression of bottled up emotions. For me, that looks like sadness and anger most of the time. For some of my clients, it's disappointment and resentment. For some other clients, it's something completely different. So I'm not going to say that there's only one type of emotional experience that we all share, because it will probably feel different in all of our bodies. But what I will say is, whatever you can do to channel those emotions rather than suppress them will be greatly, greatly impactful to you and your mental health. That being said, this isn't an open invitation to just lash out and get angry and sad at everybody who crosses your path. Not what I'm saying. What I've actually practiced in terms of fully being with my emotions and allowing them to be expressed means putting them outside of my body. I have developed so many issues in my body around stress and how I internalize it, including acid reflux, GERD, physical muscle aches, back pain, all sorts of internalized stress indicators. So what I do when I am stressed and there are emotions coming up is I simply express them in a healthy way. For me, that looks like going and playing squash until I feel like it's out of my system. Some days it might be getting in my car and blasting Green Day or whatever my favorite emo band from middle school or high school was. Other days it might be going to a batting cage or taking a foam roller and just banging the living daylights out of my bed. Whatever that looks like for you, I know it sounds ridiculous, but emotions are meant to be expressed, not suppressed. So getting angry and getting sad do not have to be roadblocks to who you want to be in life. They are very real and very valid, but they don't have to influence who you are. So when you are experiencing stress, often there's lots of attached emotion to that needs letting out. For me, it happens to be anger and sadness, so I will turn on the notebook and cry whenever I need to express that sadness, and I'm unwilling to really let it out just by itself. Or I'll go take one of those strategies I just listed to let out my anger, so then I don't just spew it all over everybody in my life, or get resentful at the career. And my last place for you to look in your life is at your relationship with self-love. This is actually one of the most remarkable and groundbreaking places that I work on with my clients. Self-love is the foundation, in my opinion, for all of the breakthroughs that are accessible to you in terms of having more money, having more fulfillment in your career, having fulfilling relationships, having a deep spiritual connection, and everything in between. If self-love is missing, if you don't actually love and respect the being of who you are without anyone else's approval, without any sort of success or praise to what you've done in life, then we're working with a tool set that's missing a lot of the core essentials. Self-love takes a lot of different forms and comes with a lot of different ways to practice it. A couple places that I'm going to throw into this video just for you to have a starting place are 2 books. One is The Artist's Way that I mentioned in last week's video, which if you haven't seen, please do check it out and let me know what you think. But The Artist's Way essentially encourages you to take yourself on dates. I cannot recommend this enough in terms of not only the practice but also the book, because when you actually learn to treasure time alone, it will change your relationship with your self-love. And another resource that I found to be massively supportive that I'm actually using right now as I make this video is Louise Hay's Mirror Work. Louise Hay was an absolute trailblazer in the world of self-love and self-discovery. And this book is specifically designed for you to practice looking in the mirror at yourself and speaking words of affirmation and declarations for you to learn to accept and love who you are unconditionally. If that sounds like something you want to explore, definitely buy one of these 2 books and it will support you massively. My only advice is don't do it alone. This work is massively powerful to do with a friend or a group of friends so that you are on the journey together, because self-love, although it is focused on you, sometimes you're not the most reliable source to keep going when it gets tough. Having buddies in the journey, whether it be an accountability partner or a life coach or a therapist, would be massively supportive for you to take on this kind of work. If you found today's video helpful, please let me know by giving it a like below. And I also have a couple resources for you linked in the description box below, one of which is my ultimate well-being checklist. This encapsulates some of the stuff we've touched on in my videos, but in a condensed way. This guide is intended for you to look in all these different parts of your life, from nutrition to physical well-being to mental well-being to spiritual well-being, and you crafting your very own schedule and checklist from the tools I give you in there. It's a free download below, so please click the link and get your copy today. And with every video that I share, I also share a complimentary blog post on my website, www.ellenbroen.com. And I often will share my experience in transforming my relationship with whatever the topic of that video was. So most of these videos are very much offered for you to look for yourself in your life, how to implement these changes. And in my blog posts, I'll share a lot more about my transformative journey so that you know you're not alone. So please head over to the website and check out the blog section. And if that interests you, then sign up for the newsletter so that you can get it sent straight to your inbox. Thank you so much for joining me on this video today. I appreciate every single soul who watches this, who comments and likes, and who shares this content and becomes a part of this community. So I hope you know how grateful I am to be connected with you, and I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday. Bye.